Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Out, the podcast, the last bastion of sanity in this zany world we live in. I am the board game guru and game master extraordinaire, Jahan.
And I'm the professional media and movie mastermind, the funhouse Drew Munhausen. And yeah, this is episode 140 of Fresh Out the Podcast. And it's just a totally chill and normal day, right?
Totally chill. Everything's fine.
Everybody's relaxed. Everybody's, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. We'll just say everybody's feeling some kind of way.
But hey, if anyone needs a distraction for any reason whatsoever, we got a bunch of stuff on the docket today that will help you escape this reality.
That's actually absolutely true, and that's a really good segue. And it's funny because a lot of times for our main topic of conversation, whether it's news or whether it's talking about some sort of pop culture topic or a recent movie release, I feel like it's rare that a video game takes the center stage for us. Like, we talk a lot of video games, but it's rare that a video game review or review in progress, I guess I should say, is our main topic. But we did tease we wanted to talk Dragon Age a couple weeks ago. Jahan and I have now both been playing this game for a little bit now. And Dragon Age the Veilguard, it's the fourth main entry in the Dragon Age series. And we're going to get into it. We're going to dive into it. And I think what I'll do to get this started is, Jahan, I'll say, what's your history with the Dragon Age franchise? Have you played all the games? And we'll go from there.
Dragon Age Origins. I remember when that was dropping, that was a big deal. They really emphasized the Origins part. That was the whole thing. Different starts depending on your character's background and stuff. It's what they promised. It's what they delivered. This was a long time ago, and the choices that you could make in Dragon Age Origins were impactful and exciting and fun. And yeah, BioWare really did a thing. And it was an instant classic. Loved the game. Dragon Age 2, great game. You get to be the Grey Wardens in that one, and that's also a very fun journey. Didn't play that one as much, but Inquisition brought me back in. Inquisition is, in a lot of ways, a masterpiece when it comes to story. The story in that game is fantastic. The world is immersive. They bring you in, and you feel awesome. You feel like you're this really cool character that's really impacting the world, and have a lot of power to wield. Because you do. You have a lot of power in the world, and it feels good to wield it. But yeah, I do enjoy this series. I'm a big fan of BioWare in general, and yeah, what about you?
Yeah, so I have played all of them, and I played all of them around the time they came out. I just one thing worth noting, it's interesting that Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age 2, and Dragon Age Inquisition all came out within about a 5-year span, 5 to 6 year span, and then it was 10 years between Inquisition and the next entry, Dragon Age of the Veilguard. But yeah, I played all of these. I really liked Dragon Age Origins. I think I've played through it twice. Dragon Age 2 I played once, and that one's kind of divisive. Like, I remember it strayed a little bit. It became a little bit more of an action, combat-focused game. But it still had all the BioWare choice-making stuff, but it was just the controlling, the action in particular, I think is what people had a problem with. And then Dragon Age Inquisition was kind of the best of all worlds. And I remember being really invested in it. I should have watched some more recap videos and things going into the Veilguard, because there are a lot of things from Inquisition that play into the Veilguard story. It's referred to a lot, but all that being said, just worth noting, I played Dragon Age Origins before I think I had ever actually played D&D. And obviously Dragon Age is the BioWare video game developer version of D&D, right? Like, this game is D&D, but a lot of reskins, things like that I've noticed now that I've played a lot more D&D since these last games have come out. Like, Qunari in Dragon Age are very much like tiefling coded, in a way, with their horns and the way that they look. Like, I know they're different. You know, but still, and like your Grey Wardens are essentially paladins, and there's just like a lot of illusions, I guess you could say.
Liberties were taken. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Liberties were taken. Exactly. So I feel like I'm noticing that a lot and like having fun with that this go around. But yeah, I've always really liked these games. I've always liked BioWare games in general. The Mass Effect games, Knights of the Old Republic, and a lot of people are saying this is a return to form for BioWare with Dragon Age the Veilguard, because we haven't gotten a true good BioWare game in a long time, because Mass Effect Andromeda was not received very well. Yeah. So really, Inquisition's the last time a big BioWare game came out that people liked. And luckily, it seems like people are back on board with this one, myself included. I'm really enjoying Dragon Age the Veilguard. I have put in probably around 27 or 28 hours into it so far. Yeah. I've been doing almost every side quest that I can as I come along. I just got my full party. I've recruited all members, and yeah. So right now I'm kind of at a point in the story where I just got everybody, and I have things I can do, but I'm going back to all the areas and kind of cleaning up side quests and things. And so I feel like I've done enough to get a good handle on it, although I have not beaten the game yet. So. Jahan, how much have you been able to play?
Much less than you. Probably a good 8 hours in. So far, yeah, I've gotten to the part where, yeah, I have a party of, I mean, it can only be 3, right? Total? Or 4.
You can have 2 people with you at any
given
time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I have my party. I got a few people I can switch between. I did some of the first few quests that really start to get you the flavor of what's going on. And yeah, I'm really enjoying my time with this one as well. Yeah, Dragon Age, for me, when I first played it, it was another fantasy game in a long line of fantasy games for me. You know, I was a big Baldur's Gate guy, and even before that, Lords of Magic, all kinds of crazy stuff. And D&D. But yeah, Dragon Age has always been different. Me and Gary actually, we work with a company called Green Road, and they do the Age tabletop role-playing games, and they started that. They designed that specifically for the Dragon Age property. So that's where all that stuff comes from. And yeah, they've always differentiated themselves from Dungeons & Dragons rules. They definitely have a lot of unique mythologies in this, like the Tranquil and the Fade and all that kind of stuff is all very solidly Dragon Age. I love their lore, and they're expanding on it a lot in Veilguard. They're really, like, they opened up the back of the book. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like in this one. They open up the back of the book. You're dealing with, like, some of the old school spookies that, doth not be named, ancient evils, that kind of thing. Definitely classic, but this one, it goes even further. You're starting to get into pantheons and stuff. I like the original combat from the first one, from Origins. It's, it was more turn-based, more crunchy, more D&D style. And then, yeah, 2 turn-based, or action-y. And then 3 kept a lot of that action-y stuff. I feel like in 4, this is the best combat from Dragon Age I've experienced. It's way more engaging. I used to get kind of bored in the Inquisition combat. Like, it's like, okay, I do my spell. Okay, I do my spell. I don't know. This, you have a lot more tricks you can do. There's, like, passives. You can do stacks. I don't know if you've played the mage at all, but you can, I think all classes can stack, like, conditionals now, or detonators. And so you stack these things on them, and then you do a special move that's designed to explode whatever that is. So, like, you're putting stacks on, you're depleting armor, you're doing rock, paper, scissors against, like, certain attacks are good against armor, certain are good against magical shields, that kind of thing. You're playing that on top of some pretty engaging, almost Elden Ring-like combat. It's very, like, big monster, swing now, dodge kind of stuff. But it has more of the, like, Batman Arkham Asylum, like, you can see when an attack's coming with little indicators above your head, that kind of thing. It's a very unique combat. It's definitely, I wouldn't say it's like any other game specifically, but it is definitely the best combat I've experienced in a Dragon Age game. So I'm very happy about that. And so far, the story is really cool. I'm not sure how they're going to top Inquisition. Inquisition is pretty incredible. But what they're doing with this one, what they're doing with Veilguard, with the Fade, breaches, and not to get into too many spoilers or anything, but certain beings attacking the mortal realm, it's really intense, and they're doing new things with the Blight, which, you know, when you have something in every single installation of a game and it's fundamentally the same each time, and then you completely change the rules in the fourth installment, that's really interesting to me. It's risky, and it's exciting, and I can't wait to find out the reasons why. So, like, yeah, Veilguard for me so far, absolute hit. It's an absolute hit.
Yeah, it feels like the stakes are high, which is nice. Like, you feel like you're really playing something on a grand scale. And I had a friend. So here's the thing with this game that I found interesting. I feel like when you're playing the story, so Dragon Age or BioWare games in general are known for like the conversations that you have and choosing your response and building, you know, your relationship with your companions, and all that is here. I do feel like the story that they're telling is very much, I don't want to say streamlined, but like they have a story that they're telling.
Yeah.
You can role play a little bit within that, but like your character, they all refer to your character as Rook. Your character speaks, they have a voice. And while you choose what kind of response you want to do, sometimes they, you know, there's a little bit of lenience taken with that and how the character responds and what he says and so on and so forth. He or she says. But so I think and I'm fine with that. I have gotten to a few points where I've made, in chapter 6 in particular, I doubt that you're that far yet. You make a really big decision. It's your first major decision, choosing between one thing or the other. And depending on which you choose, you know, there's no right answer, you know, and something bad is going to happen regardless of the answer you choose. It just depends on how bad that is, or what that bad looks like is different depending on your response. And I found that to be really fascinating, and we'll give a little bit of replay value down the line. But like, this game's telling the story that it wants to tell. I'm fine with that. I had a friend that we were chatting about this, and he kept making comparisons to Baldur's Gate 3. And I was like, you got to stop doing that. Like, you can't. I get why it's easy to compare the two, because they're both fantasy-based RPGs and, you know, heavy in this kind of fantasy lore. And obviously Baldur's Gate is D&D rules and everything. But I was like, they're just so different. Like, Baldur's Gate 3 is way more about the role-playing, and you can go about combat and things so differently, and you can choose to go about quests in so many different ways, and it's more like D&D. This is like an action role-playing game with a story they're telling, where you get to kind of form your character and at least choose the tone of the story as it goes, but you're playing the story that they've established. So like, if you're constantly trying to compare this game to something like Baldur's Gate 3, you're just doing yourself a disservice. Like, don't do that. They're different games. They're almost different genres, despite having the fantasy lore in common.
No, I'm glad you brought this up, because I wanted to say something sort of along these lines. The reason why Baldur's Gate hasn't really come up in the conversation between us is because, very different games. Baldur's Gate 3 is Dungeons and Dragons distilled into video game form. That's all it is. Like, it is pure D&D. You get all the full flavor. And honestly, you get a lot of the same experiences that you would playing with people around a table. It feels good. This is not that. This is absolutely an action RPG that guides you towards very specific ends. But that's fine. You know, you still, like you said, you still get to choose kind of how people perceive you through your choices. You get to choose your relationships and, like, you know, who you piss off, who likes you. I'm sure that'll come up down the line. But yeah, Dragon Age, I feel like that's kind of why over the years they've drifted towards this action RPG, is because other games do the turn-based Dungeons and Dragons. You know, you got Baldur's Gate, you got Solasta, you got 100 other fantasy games that do essentially what amounts to Dungeons and Dragons in a computer. And they didn't want to do that anymore, I think. I think that it was smart for them to get away from it. And yeah, it's a disservice to you and to the game to constantly compare it in that way, you know, because they really are, like you said, almost completely different genres. I mean, they really are. Because, yeah, action RPG and then RPG, like tactical RPG, are completely different games.
Yep. So, yeah, so I just wanted to get that out there. I at the end of the day, I'm really enjoying this game a lot, and it's kind of taken over. I got lucky that this past weekend, my wife was actually out of town and took our oldest daughter with her, so it was just me and the little baby at home, and the little baby, A, sleeps through the night, which is good, but B, goes to bed early, like she's asleep by 7 o'clock. So, I mean, like, my wife's gone, it's 7 o'clock, and I was just playing this, you know, for hours on end. So I was able to, like, really, you know, and the little one takes naps too, right? So I was playing this during naps. So I'm like putting in 7 hours in a day. You know, I was going into that kind of mode because I could. I don't get to do that very often, and this was a game that I really wanted to sink my teeth into. So I was very front loaded with getting to play this game a lot.
Yeah.
Right at release.
No fair. My wife's here. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, I feel you. I'm also similarly enjoying this game a lot. Do we address the elephant in the room with the review bombs and whatnot? Because, like, I feel like...
I guess I'm not even really in tune with this.
So, like, it's been getting a lot of negative reviews, and with any game that has inclusion, it's worth taking those reviews with a grain of salt, because they do get review bombed. For the record, this game allows you to pick your pronouns, pick your gender, pick your... like how you view yourself kind of thing. You can be transgender in this game, which is cool. And also, yeah, there's a lot of inclusivity in this game. I just started meeting some elves. There was a black elf. There was an elf that looked to be of Asian descent. There was a French, a dark-skinned French elf. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of variety here. I don't feel like it distracts from anything. Like, it's perfectly, like, it didn't bother me at all. I don't know why it would bother anybody. But, I mean, you know, hate is hate. This game does a lot for inclusion. There's a companion that you get that you're not far enough yet to have met this companion. But you get a companion who's actually kind of, like, dealing with gender identity in the game. And that's, like, part of their companion quest and getting to know them. And I get that there would be people who would be like, oh, you know, BioWare so woke, or, you know, something dumb like that. But from my standpoint, that character is actually one of my favorite companions so far, and it's the companion I find the most interesting. So I think that's worth noting. Like, I don't get why people react the way that they do. Yeah.
But, it's just an unfortunate byproduct. But yeah, I you know, I don't find it to be distracting or anything as I'm playing the game. Nothing seems ham-fisted or beating you over the head with it. It all feels very natural, and I think that they've done a good job with the writing and the characterizations in this game.
I do too. I feel like it's very immersive. The characters are amazing, and so some of them are different colors and some of them have different genders. I'm sorry. But yeah, so I just want the people listening to this podcast, because I'm sure that they're aware that, you know, we lean a little to the left, and it's just, if you're looking at the reviews of this game, wondering why we're disagreeing with them, it's because this game got review bombed because of what they call DEI inclusion, which is bullshit. So, Dragon Age Veilguard, check it out. It is... So far, it's in the running for my favorite Dragon Age game, which I wasn't expecting. So, yeah, I think you guys should check it out.
I know that you were playing Dragon Age Inquisition again recently, and I considered going back and just kind of seeing where it was, but I also just remember spending so much time with that game when it came out And, being one of those, when I was done with it, I'm like, I can put this away. I beat it. I enjoyed it, and I'll probably never play it again. And I was just kind of like, I don't want to dive into that when I'm about to dive into the new one.
Yeah.
So I just,
Inquisition is dense. It is
yeah,
chewy.
that's what I remember about it.
There's a lot. You're doing a lot. There's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of choices. There's a lot of micromanaging of resources and this and that. And yeah, that could be, sometimes you just want to relax. I don't know. But not to say anything about Inquisition, but I understand not wanting to go back.
The other good news is that the review bombing aspect of it doesn't really matter because this game has been selling really well. And I think that there were some records set for a BioWare game or something on Steam. I'm looking at the
Yes,
headline now.
it is already considered to be a commercial success.
Yeah. So, luckily I don't think BioWare minds that much or EA. Isn't this an EA game? Isn't EA own BioWare? I think they do.
They certainly used to.
I don't think that they mind if the game gets review bombed as long as it sells really well. And yeah, this is BioWare's best Steam launch. Had over 70,000 concurrent players at launch, which is really good.
If that doesn't tell you what you need to know, man, that's a good indicator.
I do want to talk about something else with this game that kind of is a big picture video game conversation. Maybe should have led with this, but sure. It's worth noting. You and I and Gary, when he's on the show, all very outspoken Xbox fans. And typically our show takes an Xbox tilt. And recently, of course, the Xbox news has been a little bit all over the place with their announcements to release even their own Xbox Game Studios games on other consoles and what's happening there. Are they leaning towards being a publisher? What's the future of Microsoft consoles, etc., etc. It's very messy. I bought this game on PlayStation 5. I bought Dragon Age the Veilguard. I've played every Dragon Age game before this on Xbox. And I bought this one on PS5 because I've been playing a lot more of my PlayStation 5 recently. There have been some really great games that have come out this year that I've gotten to dig deep into, and I've talked about those here on the show. Like Astrobot's one of my games of the year so far, and that's a PS5 exclusive. And Final Fantasy VII Rebirth I was playing on there, and I've just been spending a lot of time with my PlayStation and feeling really comfortable with it lately, and it's been running great. And I was like, you know what? I just kind of want to play this on my PlayStation. And I'm not saying that I'm fully switching sides necessarily, but even I, as a diehard Xbox fan for so many years, I'm like, I don't know where that console is going. So I might start buying my multi-platform games on PlayStation.
Yeah. And
then using Xbox to play the Xbox Game Studios games and the Game Pass releases that I don't want to pay full price on. Case in point, I've been playing my Xbox recently, not to jump ahead, but Call of Duty Black Ops 6 just came out, and it went straight to Game Pass. And if you're a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, that's a big deal. And I have a lot of really great things to say about that game when we get to fresh games later. And that game coming out on Game Pass, it feels like a big deal. And it is a big deal. And, tons of their subscriptions have gone up, so on and so forth. So that is great for them. Call of Duty, I think, is doing what they wanted it to because it's getting great sales on other platforms, but Game Pass subscriptions are going up, probably not as high as it would have been had as this game would sell. But yeah, I bought Dragon Age on my PlayStation, and I don't know how to feel about it. I'm coping with it, so to speak.
It's okay. I've played Inquisition and Veilguard on Xbox. I played the other two on computer, so I'm not a loyalist either. I have a Switch. I have PC. I'm on my PC right now. Console wars are dumb.
They are dumb. They are dumb. But it's just there's a part of me that I feel like I like to have all the games that I buy be all in one place, and that's a benefit for you playing on PC and playing in Steam. And most games I buy for Xbox, and I have a very vast digital library of games on Xbox. Less so on PlayStation. My PlayStation digital library is mostly PlayStation exclusives and the games that have been made free month to month with PlayStation Plus. Dragon Age: The Veilguard's the first multi-platform game I've bought on PlayStation 5, maybe ever since the PlayStation 5 came out. I definitely had some PS4 games that were multi-platform that I bought, but I think this is the first one on PlayStation 5, and I'm having a great time with it. It looks amazing. It's controlling great and playing in performance mode. Everything looks good. Yeah, so I just wanted to note that because I don't know if the tide is turning for me with video games and where I prefer to play them, because I do think the next game I play, the next big game I play after Dragon Age is probably going to be Metaphor ReFantazio, and I'm probably going to play that on PlayStation 5 too.
That's fair.
But I'm going to play Indiana Jones and Black Ops 6 on Xbox, so it's not like I'm abandoning it by any means.
Yeah. I'll love you either way, Drew. No matter who you decide to be, buddy.
Appreciate it.
That wraps up our Dragon Age Veilguard conversation. Hope you guys enjoyed that. We're going to switch gears over to fresh movies of the week. Drew, did you watch anything cool this week?
I actually did. I've been, despite how many hours I've been able to put into Dragon Age, I've also been able to watch a lot of stuff too. First off, I'll start with the newest release. I saw Here, which this is the new film from Robert Zemeckis of Back to the Future directing fame. Bob Zemeckis, great early career, kind of notoriously fallen from grace in recent years. His more recent movies are very heavy on effects and motion capture and weird things and look very digital and are varying degrees of success. I think the most recent movie he did before Here was the live action Pinocchio adaptation for Disney that went straight to Disney Plus that is really bad. Really bad movie.
The one that flopped. Yeah.
Yeah, Gary and I think ripped that movie apart when it came out on this very podcast. And I think before that he did Welcome to Marwen, which is also a movie that was not received well at all. I'm confirming, is that the most recent? Oh no, he did the Witches movie, the remake of the Roald Dahl book to movie adaptation that came out in 2020 that starred Anne Hathaway and went straight to HBO Max. So yeah, not good, not what you want.
Yeah, I've seen the original and that movie. Yeah.
He did. I mean, let's be clear. I'm putting respect on Robert Zemeckis' name. Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Death Becomes Her. Forrest Gump. Contact. All these super famous. Castaway. Like, Robert Zemeckis gets a lifetime pass for me.
Despite, he already did it. You can phone it in.
Yeah, despite going to, then he was The Polar Express, Beowulf, and A Christmas Carol, all motion capture, digitally animated movies back to back to back before doing Flight with Denzel, which I like. But anyways, Here is his reunion with stars Tom Hanks and Robin Wright from Forrest Gump, little Forrest Gump reunion between all three of them. It's based off of a graphic novel, and the gimmick here is that the camera stays in one place for the whole movie, and essentially you see the history of this house. It's a one-shot movie from this house, and you see mostly one family and as they grew up in this house and how their family grew and where they went and everything that's happened under this roof. But you also see previous tenants and you see future tenants too. You kind of see the full spectrum of history of this house and the plot of land where it's at, even back to like the BC era with dinosaurs and so on. So it's really, it's an interesting concept with stars that I like, with a director who has done some incredible stuff in the past but has made some slip ups in more recent years. And this for me is like somewhere in the middle. Tom Hanks is doing a good performance. I love Tom Hanks, and I always have. And I think he's very good in it. Yeah. Robin Wright, I think, is fine. And this as a concept is interesting, but about halfway through the movie, I was kind of like, okay, I get it. And I see what you're doing. And it kind of jumps back and forth throughout time. And it does this thing with panes where it looks like a comic book. It'll have panes pop up and it shows the house in different eras, depending on the pane and where you're looking at. It's like very interesting design, and it's well thought out as far as that kind of thing. But it's just the movie itself. It's kind of corny, like the actual plot and the characters, and it's designed for your mom and dad to shed a tear, and you'll be like, that's fine. It's just one of those movies. I thought maybe this could have an award season run, but this isn't it. It's a fine movie. Is it worth going out to see in theaters? Maybe not, but catch it at some point. I just thought it was okay. So
this is a fun movie night at home. Gotcha.
Yeah. But as of right now, it's only available in theaters. But of course, with Tom Hanks and Zemeckis reuniting, I had to see it, and it was fine. So that's here. I also got to check out The Substance, finally. I've been wanting to see this for weeks, and it's now available video on demand or on Mubi. If you subscribe to Mubi, which little hack, you can do a like a preview, a sneak preview subscription to Mubi. You can do like a limited time, 7 days free, and watch stuff on it. So if you really want to see The Substance, do the free trial for Mubi, check it out, and then if you don't want the subscription service, just cancel it and you can.
Are you saying Mubi?
Mubi, M-U-B-I, Mubi. It's a streaming service that's well known amongst cinephiles, but yeah, it's not like a super mainstream one. And they've recently been producing movies as well, or distributing. So The Substance was distributed by Mubi. They did Decision to Leave recently, and yeah, there's a few. They've done a few.
I'm looking.
Anyways,
at it
The
now.
Substance. If I remember correctly, Jahan, you told me that your brother Keon saw this movie and really didn't like it. Am I remembering that correctly?
I don't know that he didn't like it, but he said it was really gross and off-putting.
It is very gross and off-putting, and I really enjoyed this movie. It's directed by Coralie Farge, and for those who don't know of the plot, it stars Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley, and essentially Demi Moore is a once very famous actress. Like, I think they allude to her being an Oscar-winning actress who had a great career, but she's now gotten much older. She's in her 50s, and I think the main part of this movie takes place in the 80s, and she is now does like a Richard Simmons-esque like workout show. That's what she's doing now in her adult life, and yeah, she's still very famous, but that's what she's doing because she's kind of aged out of doing movies. And it's the kind of typical thing, right? Like the company, the TV station that she works for, they're wanting to get a newer, younger host, and they kind of give her the we love you, but see you later kind of treatment. And so she, through some plot devices, comes across a product called The Substance. And The Substance lets you essentially live as a younger, better version of yourself. But the cost of that is you can only do it for 7 days at a time. So you have to spend 7 days as your younger self and then 7 days as your current self and go back and forth. And that's how it works. This leads to some really intense body horror sequences, the way that it all plays out. I'm not going to spoil anything about the how or why or anything, because I think that's part of the fun of watching this movie. I am a big fan of body horror movies, so I think that's worth noting. I'm a big horror fan in general, and body horror within that I just find to be fascinating ever since I saw The Fly at an age where I was probably too young to be watching it, but I was very fascinated by it. And so whenever there is body horror in movies, I just find it to be, really interesting and strange, and I like it, especially when it's done practically. And
yeah,
the body horror effects that are done in The Substance are some of the best body horror effects I've seen in modern film, like probably of the 2000s and beyond. So I had a great time with this. It is not subtle at all about its messaging, so that might turn some people off from a plot perspective. It doesn't pull any punches. It makes it very clear of what its messaging is. There's nothing subtle about this movie at all. And the last 30 minutes of it are just totally bizarro, off the rails, and I loved it for that. So obviously Demi Moore plays the older actress. Margaret Qualley plays the younger version of herself. Dennis Quaid's also in this movie as just a like horrible producer. I really enjoyed The Substance. It'll probably be in my best of year-end list. It's up there. It's probably going to be in my top 10 at the end of the year. I would guess if I had to call it early. Really enjoyed The Substance. Not for the faint of heart. Not for those that don't like body horror and extreme like gore or gross out things like that. It's not a scary movie in the jump scare sense at all. It's more scary in the physically what you're watching.
Yeah, I like body horror. Sometimes it can be a little much for me, but I do enjoy it. But like, I don't know, sometimes it leaves me feeling kind of hollow, like Tusk. Like that one at the end of it, I didn't know what to feel. I was like, oh man, that's hard. Yeah, The Substance, that sounds good, man. That sounds like a ringing endorsement.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. But not everybody will like this as much. I could see people being like, that's on my worst list, on my list of worst movies of the year. Like some people might have that perspective, but I liked this one a whole lot. And I was so drawn to it the entire time I was watching it. And that's saying something because this movie is like 2 hours and 20 minutes long, which is insane for a movie like this. But it's really good.
Hell yeah, man. The Substance. I got a movie that sounds like it's body horror, but it's actually a palate cleanser. Inside Out 2 from Pixar. Pixar, right? Yeah, it is. It's been out for a while. It's not new, but it's on Disney Plus now, and finally got to sit down and watch it. I really liked the first one. This one, Riley is older. She's a teenager. She's dealing with, friendships changing and her body changing and all that kind of stuff. And, it takes place over a really intense weekend or week at a hockey camp. And she makes some questionable decisions because of her anxiety and her her embarrassment and all these new emotions. And so the new emotions kind of take over her. The old emotions have to fight to try to save her. There's a really beautiful message in this about like how, it can't all be joy all the time. It's all the emotions and the moments that sort of make us who we are. I think I liked this one better than the first one. I actually think that this sequel...
Whoa, that's a hot take.
I think that the sequel kind of outshines the first one. The first one's great. First one's a lot more kid-y, I think. Even though it is about kind of letting go of childish things and, I don't know, growing, this is about it's about more of the emotions that I struggle with, like anxiety. I have pretty severe anxiety, and like watching the anxiety attacks happen and all that kind of stuff, it really hit home for me. I don't know. I feel like these movies are really good kids movies because I think they show things that kids don't get to hear about enough. They show things that show you that you're not alone, that these feelings are normal, and that it can get better. Like it's not, you're not going to feel this way all the time. So for that, I love this movie. I do think I liked it better than the first one, and that surprised me because I really liked the first one. So Inside Out 2, if you haven't watched it yet, check it out. It's something I think you should absolutely show to your kids, especially if they're starting to have the more complex feelings beyond just joy and sadness and whatnot. I really liked ennui. Ennui is one of the new feelings, and that's pretty funny. But yeah, it's a great movie. I think they really killed it with this one. Honestly, I'm surprised it didn't get better word of mouth. It really was a good one for me.
Awesome. I'm glad that you enjoyed it that much. I did not like it as much as the first and had some issues with it. I thought it was good, but I love your review of it and the whys and hows, and I think that's wonderful.
Hell yeah, man.
I did have one other movie, but it was just a rewatch, so I'm just going to mention it here. But while I was doing things around the house over the weekend, I did throw on Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. This is the recent Dungeons and Dragons movie from 2023 with Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez and so on and so forth. And I liked this movie when we reviewed it on this podcast, and I think I liked it even better on a rewatch. This movie holds up. It's still so funny, and the action is so well choreographed, and all the proper effects and everything that they did, and not relying on CG. I don't know, man. Just everything about this movie is great and understands D&D and what it's like to play D&D with your friends, while also making a great movie. And so, yeah, Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, it rules. Like this, it totally rips, and can't recommend it enough.
No, I appreciate. Yeah, as a diehard D&D guy, it is a lot more. This movie is much more playing D&D than like a story told in the settings of D&D, because it's definitely silly. But I like that. I love it for that. Like, it really does capture the goofiness of people sitting around playing fantasy games together. And yeah, absolutely. You have other D&D movies to watch, though, Drew. You gotta watch Wrath. Yeah, you gotta watch Wrath of the Dragon God and the Book of Ultimate Evil, I believe.
I'm not gonna watch. Are those the sequels to the old Dungeons and Dragons movie that I talked about a few weeks ago that I didn't like?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna watch. It's not gonna happen.
They're better. They're definitely better.
If John Francis Daley and whoever, the guys that directed this, do another one. Is it John Goldstein and John Francis Daley? John Francis Daley, known the actor from Freaks and Geeks, is one of the directors on this movie. I'll watch anything they do. They did Game Night also, another movie that I loved.
It's pretty good.
I'll watch any Dungeons and Dragons movie from them. Am I gonna go watch the direct-to-video sequel to the bad Dungeons and Dragons movie from years ago? No, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry,
but
Jahan.
They're good. All right. No, that's fair. That's absolutely fair.
I believe you, but I also don't think they're readily available for me to stream, and I'm not going to pay money to watch them.
No, they're definitely not. Yeah. That's fine. All right. That does it for Fresh Movies this week. We got a little bit of Fresh TV, mostly from Jahan, yours truly, and both of them are things I've already talked about on the show, but I wanted to dive into a little bit more, namely Agatha All Along, and mostly because I finished it. I watched the entire show. I've heard from family members that aren't that into the Marvel scene these days that they really enjoyed this one. I also think that this is an absolute win. This is the best Marvel show since WandaVision, I would say. The story's great. They give you a lot of those moments that it's like, I really wish that they would do this from the comics, and like, I really wish we'd see this character, and like, they give you a lot of the things you're asking for, a lot of the things you want, including some comic accurate costumes. But yeah, I think that the twists at the end are all very fun, and somewhat dark. And I don't know, I think that this exceeded everyone's expectations, even Disney's. So, like, if you haven't seen Agatha All Along, it's great. And it might be worth rewatching WandaVision before you watch it, because they pretty much go right into each other. Agatha All Along, fantastic. Absolutely certified fresh. And then this other one I want to talk about again, because I watched more of it. Last time I talked about Dan to Dan. I had only watched the first episode, wasn't sure about it. I have now watched about 4. It's on Netflix, releasing weekly. And this anime is incredibly fun and imaginative and different and new. If you enjoy those supernatural animes, this is definitely a good one. The two main characters, they have an interesting relationship when it comes to how their powers work together. And it's not a stupid, like, Diapoled in the Force bullshit, fucking, Last Jedi 9th episode 9 bullshit. It's not that. Their powers just kind of work together. And it's just really fun. I think that it is worth watching on Netflix. Dan, my favorite anime right now.
Good stuff. Moving on to Fresh Games. Did you have anything in Fresh Games, John? Or was it just Dragon Age?
I just played Veilguard, man.
Okay. Well, I did already kind of spoil this earlier, but I have played a little bit of Call of Duty Black Ops 6, the newest Call of Duty entry and the first to go direct to Game Pass since the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard was finalized. And it's really good. I mean, if you like Call of Duty game, it's a Call of Duty game. I mean, nothing you can do to avoid that. But I have actually been playing the campaign a bit. The campaign is like way better than it has any right to be as a first-person shooter campaign. It stays true to the Black Ops theme, and there's a lot of missions that you do where they're not even combat focused, or you can go about them in different ways. Like there's different solutions to them. There are some maps that are a little bit more open world, and you can choose where you go and drive vehicles around. And some of the missions are a little bit more streamlined too. But I'm actually really enjoying the campaign, and I've jumped into some multiplayer, and it works great and flows as well as it should for a Call of Duty game. And so I don't have anything otherwise crazy to add to the Call of Duty discussion. I haven't played a Call of Duty game in a few years, but if they start coming out on Game Pass every year now, I'm probably going to start dabbling with them each year because they're available to me.
Yeah.
I do. Black Ops 6.
I do have this downloaded. I downloaded the multiplayer section because you can choose if you want to download everything or not. And I'm really, really eager to get into Black Ops Zombies. I love the zombies from the previous editions. This is the reason why, unsurprisingly, I want to play Black Ops games. So yeah, I really want to get into zombies, and once I do, I'll report back with my findings. And I'm sure I hear good things, so I'm sure I'll be satisfied.
Here is one thing that I have to get over for Black Ops 6 or Call of Duty in general. And I haven't, like I said, I haven't played Call of Duty game in a few years. I don't think I've played since the last, like the World War II one came out. I think it was.
Oh boy, for like 360?
No. They had a World War II. Hold on here. Call of Duty franchise wiki. I'm Googling this live in real time.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you.
I thought you were talking about World of War. That was a while ago.
Oh, no, they had World War II. Call of Duty World War II was 2017. Okay. I had that one. And I think I played Cold War, Black Ops Cold War in 2020. I think it's the last one that I played a little bit. I did not play Vanguard. I didn't play the Modern Warfare 2. That was a remake, right?
I haven't played I don't think I played a Call of Duty game in like 9 years, bro.
Yeah. Well, regardless. So the way they have Call of Duty set up now on the Xbox, I assume it's like this on PlayStation also, is when you get a new Call of Duty game, you essentially have to download like a Call of Duty hub.
Yeah, that's stupid.
And when you launch the hub, it's like choose which Call of Duty game you're playing. If you have multiple Call of Duty games installed, like you would be able to choose. I think it just has Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, and Black Ops 6 in it now, and maybe Modern Warfare as well. So it has the Modern Warfare games and Black Ops 6. I get this, I guess, if you're like an esports guy, or you you're like, man, I really liked Modern Warfare 2, and I like to switch back and forth between Black Ops 6 and Modern Warfare 2. Like, I guess. But like for someone like me who doesn't play all of them and is playing this, it's like kind of overwhelming to try to launch Call of Duty, and you get this big hub with all these different things and different options for games, and within that hub then you have to choose Black Ops 6 to launch Black Ops 6. It's just strange. The worst part of this though is they have consolidated all of their achievements for Call of Duty. So when you look at Call of Duty on your achievement list, it'll show like there's 3,000 achievement points.
Oh boy.
games, but it'll tell you, like, when you look through the list of achievements, it's like these are the Modern Warfare 2 ones, these are the Modern Warfare 3 ones, and the Black Ops 6 ones are buried within that, and they're all just combined. It's terrible. I hate this stuff, Jahan. This is the type of stuff that me, as a gamer who likes to get achievements and things like that, this stuff drives me
Pure
bananas.
torture.
But the Black Ops 6 or the Call of Duty hub in general is just a little disorienting for me, for somebody that hasn't played a Call of Duty game in a while. So
Battlefield instituted a similar thing where you can access other games through one game, and I just always think it's dumb. It's like, why? Like, I'm not going to have Battlefield like 3 and then the newest one. It's like, I'm not going to do, like, who does that? And yeah, it's probably for esports people. They have to appeal to them because they're kind of the ambassadors of the game, but it's just dumb. I don't like it. I wish you could turn it off.
Yeah, so I didn't like that part of it. But Black Ops 6 is really good. And Xbox gamers who subscribe to Game Pass, this is a great treat and an amazing thing to get as part of your subscription and not pay $70 for it.
Really is. I'm pretty happy about it.
The other thing that I'm going to note is I know that you like to play Marvel Snap a lot. You talk about it a lot. I don't know if you're still snapping.
I'm still snapping. I try not to bring it up on the show because I don't want to talk about it all the time. They just started a new season, which is Wars at World. The premium pass, the $10 a month that you card that you get this time is Surtur, the destroyer of Asgard. And yeah, all the cards this month are themed in that Asgardian war kind of thing. I think right now you can get Frigga, Fenris, I believe, is like next week, and then so on and so forth. Some pretty cool cards. And honestly, man, Marvel Snap has only gotten better. They've introduced alliances, which have you can team up with your friends to complete quests to unlock more rewards. They have different game modes. They have temporary game modes that come and go. They have all kinds of stuff, man. They've really been keeping up with it. So yeah, Marvel Snap is still bumping, dude. And I think it's better than it's ever been currently.
Well, I bring it up because I have not been playing Marvel Snap, but I have been playing a mobile card game, which is the recently released Pokemon trading card game Pocket. That's now available on iTunes or on your smartphone. Jahan, this game is doing it for me here lately. When I need something to play on my phone, I'm laying in bed, whatever, or if I need a distraction just to, play a quick game of Pokemon trading card game, but on mobile. And the way that they have it set up to where you can unlock card packs and such throughout the day, and or you get points to get card packs sooner. It works. It doesn't seem extortative, of your funds. But also, they've nailed the opening a booster pack and the anticipation of seeing what you get and the excitement when you get something good. I think that I'm genuinely impressed at that, and the haptic response on the iPhone and what it feels like to open a pack and everything is really, really satisfying. So I liked that part of it from the collection aspect. But then the way that it has the actual battles work is really well done. They've kind of simplified it from the normal trading card game, but a lot of the rules are still there. So I think the hardcore fans will still find things to like, but it's also approachable from a new fan standpoint. And the way that it helps you to, or assists you in building decks and so on and so forth. This has been really fun, and it has been my mobile game of choice recently, so I did want to shout it out. So that's Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket, now on mobile.
Hey man, I'll give it a wiggle. I'll check it out, see what shakes out. Sounds like fun. I had heard that there was a Pokemon Trading Card Game mobile game going around, and did not expect you to be talking about it today, but hey, that's why we do the podcast. So that's
here to surprise.
Cool. Here to surprise, yeah. Absolutely. I'll check it out because you checked it out, and we're friends. That's it for Fresh Games?
That's it.
I guess we're going on to Fresh Picks of the Week. This is our favorite thing that we've experienced this past week. I'm going to go ahead and say Dragon Age the Veilguard, absolutely my fresh choice. Very fun. There was a long wait between the Dragon Age games. This does not disappoint.
Yeah, clearly my fresh pick of the week is Dragon Age the Veilguard also. I mean, I've put almost 30 hours into it in a week, which is kind of insane.
It's kind of insane,
which
buddy.
goes to show how much I've been enjoying it. But if I had to choose a movie or, a piece of content from that standpoint, it'd be The Substance. But for sure, Veilguard is taking my fresh pick spot this week.
Absolutely. Well, hey, man, that was another fresh week of fresh news. Thanks, everyone, for listening. This has been Fresh Out the Podcast, and I have been the board game guru, game master extraordinaire, Jahananan. If you like this, but you want tabletop role-playing games and not Drew, then you should come check out Fresh Out the Box. Me and Gary's tabletop role-playing game review and actual play YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook stream channel. We do a lot of sexy things. Right now we got Vampire the Masquerade finishing up next week, along with the creator of Through the Hedgerow coming on and running me and Gary through a one-shot. Those are going to be the last of the games that we play until after I come back from my parental leave. But we'll still have one more podcast episode. And then I'm going to go have a baby and come back in January. So thanks, everyone, for listening.
Yeah, and I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse Drew Munhausen. You can catch me at Drew Munhausen or at D Munhausen on different social media platforms. Catch me over on Letterboxd where I'm logging movies and usually putting little silly one-liners with some of them. Sometimes I give real reviews on there. Yeah, so catch up with us there. As Jahan mentioned, some housekeeping here. Next week will be the last episode probably of 2024. Realistically, we're getting to go to a special preview screening of Red One, the new Dwayne Johnson and Chris Evans and J.K. Simmons holiday movie about rescuing Santa Claus. We're gonna catch that one. We'll do an episode on it and review it and have that going into the holidays. But yeah, as Jahan mentioned, he's gonna be a daddy. And I'm actually planning a big move here in the coming weeks. So just between life events and the holidays, we're probably just going to take a hiatus and get back on it in the new year if things work out. So just wanted to give everyone a heads up. Enjoy this episode and enjoy the next episode, and then enjoy a little break until we pop up in your feed again soon after.
And you know what? While we're gone, why don't you guys try to look around and love each other? I'm just kidding. Do whatever you want. Stay fresh!